Hope everybody had a Merry Christmas. We're going to look at the pattern change. It's on tap for the turn of the year. I'm going to also talk about the chances for snow and the potential chance for maybe more of a significant storm towards the end of the first week of January. So stay tuned. We'll be talking about that today and then how I think this pattern change can have some staying power. I don't think this is just a brief transitory thing. So let's take a look and dive right in. So right now, here's our weather pattern. The key is going to be after this week. We're going to have a rainstorm coming in. Then you're going to have this little storm that's probably going to go offshore early next week. I don't see a snow threat early next week. I know some people are looking at that. I don't see it happening. I think the pattern's too progressive. But let me show you guys what I'm looking at. This is very important, and it's the best look I've seen probably in 2 years. I'll be honest with you. So as we get towards the end of the first week of January, there's a few key things I'm going to point out here. Okay? Number one, you see the signature out here? Okay? This is a classic blocking signature. You have a ridge over Greenland. You have this low pressure area in your 50-50 coordinates. Now, this is very significant. It's one of my favorite things to look at. Why? Because it can lock in cold air, and locking in cold air is very, very important for East Coast snowstorms. Now, we're far off in the long range here. We're talking, well over a week out. But I like what I see, and I think the models are hinting at some key ingredients can be there. So by the time we get to the end of that first week of January, look at a few key things going on here. And I don't know if everybody sees this the way I do, but I see a piece of the polar vortex right here delivering cold air. I see a lot of storm energy developing in the Gulf, and I see that blocking signature that can lock in that cold. To me, that is a big storm signal. No, it doesn't mean it's going to happen, but what it does mean is we have to watch the end of the first week of January to see if a low pressure center wants to develop in the Gulf, tap into that all deep cold air that we finally have because of the pattern change, and develop some significant cyclogenesis along the eastern seaboard. Moving on here, you can see the models now finally starting to show potential for lower pressures. Now, another thing, too, I'll point out. Remember, this is an ensemble. It's an average of a lot of different runs, so it's washed out. If this verifies, okay, what's going to happen is because of the block, you could see high pressure stay over the top, and you have a storm that comes up and then can really deepen off the coast. It's hinting that could happen. Doesn't mean it's guaranteed. But I just want to show you guys what I look at. There's a few key variables every winter I like to see happen. I'm starting to see them come together here. So I want to point that out. So we really have to watch the end of that first week. Moving on, you could actually see the ensembles. And I'll show them the precipitation. Again, this is 288 hours out, but the signals are there. Back in the old days, guys, when I say old days, when I was in high school, maybe 20 years ago, we didn't have all these long-range fancy models that went out 5, 6, 7 weeks. We looked at teleconnections. And just looking at these teleconnections in terms of this pattern change, you have an AO, or Arctic oscillation, that's going negative. That means higher pressures in Canada, colder air to the south potentially. We have a North Atlantic oscillation that's going negative. Okay, that means locking in cold air and blocking, like I talked about earlier. This looks really good on paper. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, look, it's going to be transient. It's going to move out by the middle of January. Maybe it does. I don't think it does. Maybe it does. But I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing a really good potential period in front of us here that's going to hopefully make up for the lack of snow last year. And just looking at what else we're going to be seeing here, guys, here's all that cold air that now the models are finally starting to catch up on being on our side of the globe. Again, this is washed out. Okay, it's just going to be much more significant. And a big part of that is what's going on in two key areas. The Madden-Julian oscillation is now going to be going into phase 2 with some good amplitude in 3. Phase 2 and 3 are very good signals on the eastern seaboard in El Ninos. This lines up right around the time that storm I'm talking about could happen with lag. And then the stratosphere. I mean, you have a polar vortex that's under severe duress right now and potentially could split. And the lag on that is probably 2.5 to 3 weeks. If that happens, this pattern change is not going anywhere. Yeah, you can maybe have a little light period where things let up, but I don't see that. I think this could be here to stay longer than people think. And, people looking at the tropical convection or the Madden-Julian oscillation, it goes to 4 or 5, that's warm. But what could happen is that this stratosphere really does what it's projected to do. We start to see some cold air on our side of the globe. This might just stall or go into a null phase, not make a strong rotation into 4 and 5. So 1, 2, and 3 are very cold phases for the eastern seaboard. Things are lining up. I'm pretty excited. And look, we'll see where things are at in 2 weeks. That's all for now.